I'm really delighted to now introduce our guest speaker, Sinead, and her talk, Getting the Most from Your Social Media Content. So Sinead is a very experienced PR and social content marketing consultant with over 10 years of experience running creative communications campaigns for leisure, travel and public sector clients, which have included Dreamland Margate, Visit Kent, the Wine Garden of England and Creative Estuary. She also co-hosts the podcast The Poisoner's Cabinet, which I love, delving into history's famous poisoners and coming up with cocktails to match the stories. So at this point, I want to welcome Sinead and hand over to you.
Thank you, Hannah. Hello, everybody. It's really nice to be talking to everyone. Thanks so much for all the people who signed up and who sent questions through. This just confirms everything that I hope I know already. Is just social media is such a broad subject that everyone's fascinated in. No matter how long you've been doing it for, no matter what field you're in, you can always learn more about social media. So I'm hoping today to be able to share some tips that I've learned over the years. I am now going to share my screen, and hopefully this will work and it will show the presentation and not something horrible. So Hannah, I can still hear you. So if you can just, when I do this, if you can just confirm that it seems to be working.
Yeah, that looks good to me.
Okay, I'm just going to move the thingy, technical term. There we are. Hopefully that'll be fine. Okay, so you should all be seeing the presentation and probably not me now. So as you can see, getting the most from your social media. So as Hannah said, I just thought I'd do a quick thing about me. The reason I'm giving this talk, a lot of people, whatever field you work in, as I said, people feel they know social media. You will have different businesses or different bosses or different organizations who sort of say, social media is easy. Can you just sort of sort it out for me? Maybe it's in your job or you have your own business where you feel that you need to get to know social media a bit better. But it is a massive industry and it is a huge amount of work. So I have over 10 years experience, as I said, working in communications and social media. That covers PR as well as communications and the social side of things. So I've been a digital content manager for a long time as well. And in here, you'll see, I've just mentioned that part of my work is doing digital content audits of people's channels, of organizations' channels, whether they want transformation campaigns to grow their audiences, to get more engagement, to change their entire tone of voice to correspond better with their brand. Work with multiple content streams, large numbers of teams, different goals. So I know what it's like when you're trying to juggle loads of channels, or you've got a huge project that you're working on, or if you're just one small business who needs a bit of advice on how to run social media. I'm also an ex-journalist. That's where my writing and editing skills come from. I have put my information down here. Now, I am not an influencer, so I don't have thousands of followers, but I am on Instagram at The Demon Gin, which is my sort of personal, slightly weird feed, if you ever want to look at it. The Poisoner's Cabinet, which is my podcast, which is nothing to do with social media. It's all about poisoners and making up cocktails to go with horrible stories that we tell. So do have a listen because it is quite fun. I am on Twitter at Sinead Hanna. And my email is on there. We can come back to that at the end should anyone want to get in touch with me for advice. So the session today, social media, we can't do all of social media in one session. You are not going to learn everything that you need to know about social media in this session in one day. You wouldn't be able to learn about it in 1 week. But what I wanted to do today, I have sat in on many sessions for social media because I'm always trying to improve my knowledge. No matter how much I think I know, I can always know more because social media constantly changes. What I've tried to do in here is give you as many tips and basic ground rules that may sound obvious, but even the most experienced, even the biggest organizations I've worked with are still missing out on some of these key points about how to make social media work for you. So hopefully you'll find these useful. There's top tips in there. It's exploring the channels. I've looked at the big three: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, how you measure success. And then there will be time for questions and chat at the end. As Hannah said, Hannah's going to go through the questions that you've submitted. If you have any others in chat, please put them in. I'm more than happy to spend time at the end to answer specific questions because social media, as I said, is so broad. Ideas will pop into your head during this presentation that you may want me to cover. For those of you who've submitted questions in advance, thank you so much for those. It was quite a broad range. So what I've tried to do is cover as much as I can in this. There may be more specific ones that we might want to come back to. You might have examples or things that are a little bit more personal to you and your business goals that I can answer in the chat at the end. So let's crack on. First of all, an overview. Good social media accounts take work. Don't listen to anyone who says social media is easy, or if you ever work in an environment where you're working for a business and your boss or your CEO comes up and goes, can you just sort of sort out social? Yeah, and think that you can do it in a day and they don't really have to pay you that much for it. Good social media accounts take a lot of work. That is a fact. You can't underestimate the amount of time that the best social media channels that you see, how much work goes into them. It doesn't mean that you should be panicking about it right now, but bear it in mind that all good things take work. Little tip, this may sound obvious, the exact same content will not work across all of your channels. If I can just ingrain that into more people's minds when looking at social media, I will have done my job. If you put the same post on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram with the exact same wording, with the exact same images, it will not do what you think it's going to do. It's not reaching more people. It's not getting you your goals. And with social media, don't expect people to come to you if you aren't relevant to them. It's a very tough thing. People want to try and create something for everybody. That doesn't work on social media, but don't worry, I'll go through how it can work. Invest what you can in social media, whether it is your time, whether it is money for promotions, whether it is investing in staff to look after your social media. Rome wasn't built in a day. Invest what you can to make it work for you. And obviously with social media, find your niche and don't give up, because it is worth it. You will want to give up at some stage, but don't. So, what do people want from social media? Well, the users out there, in a very broad sense, they want immediate, inspiring, informative content that speaks to me directly. Everyone out there wants something that is absolutely perfect for them, tailored to what they're searching for, and that is inspiring, it's informative, it's got everything. Users' demands are massive and almost unbelievable. And you can feel like you can't attain them. But that's what people are looking for, because so many brands are able to cater to that. People also want to share, they want to talk, and they want to show off on social media. Instagram is built on that, the idea of sharing beautiful pictures, those fear of missing out moments, those travel inspired shots, those incredible photos in landmarks where people go, oh my God, I want to be there, and I want that picture, and I want all those likes that are picking up, and I want all of these comments. People also want products and information right now. Everyone, we've just been through lockdown. How many of you have spent time browsing Amazon and kind of thinking, to get through the boredom of, oh, I've suddenly thought of something I want? You can go and you can click on it and find it immediately. So anyone who's using any business, anyone who has a product, who has social media, they're going to want to go to your social media channels and find the products and the information they want instantly. If they have to dig for it, you will lose customers. Businesses, this is from my experience of working with businesses about social media, as I alluded to in the first place. Businesses want incredible results immediately. They don't know how it works. They just know, can you just go and put something on social? And yeah, that'll work, won't it? They just want everything that they see other brands doing instantly. As I said, social media takes time. Second thing is that thing that they saw, but different. Content that people see on social media, a lot of businesses go, oh, I want to do that. So can you do that? But I don't want to copy them. I want something completely unique, but I want the same results. That's not practical. It's no problem to use tried and tested methods in content, to see what other people are doing, to copy it, adapt it, not copy it completely. But anyone who's saying, I want the same results, but completely different, is obviously deluded. And in some cases, businesses want all the benefits of social media for free. They don't want to invest any money in their promotions. They don't want to invest their time, and they don't want to invest in staff. So anyone who's seeking a career in social media, know your value, know its worth. Don't let anyone try and get you to transform their digital presence for free. So when you're starting on social media, whatever you're doing, if you want to grow your presence, and particularly if you're a business, but even if you just want to start maybe getting into the world of being an influencer, building a profile that will maybe have a monetary value later on, you need to do some groundwork. The most important thing for social media is understand your audience. You need to know who is really looking at your social media and interacting with it. You may have a product and that you want to target at certain people, at a certain demographic. Maybe it's parents, maybe it's families, maybe it's young people, the all youth market that we want to target. Maybe you want to target people who are interested in a certain kind of music, people who are predominantly in the Canterbury area or in the Ashford area. You want to target people, but who's really looking at your social media at the moment and who is interacting with it? That tells you what your audience is. Who do you want to reach, and what do those sort of people want from their social media content? This is where you start exploring your audience by looking at the demographic reports that you can get from Facebook, from Instagram, from Twitter. They are out there, and trying to build a picture of who is actually coming and looking at your content. Those people are the people that you need to grow, you need to work on. If you've got an audience and you're doing this research and people are coming and looking at your social media profile, but then you decide, oh, actually, I want something completely different from that, well, you're going to have to change all of your content strategy. You're going to have to suddenly change everything that you've got a nice captive audience for to try and reach an audience who's never engaged with you in the first place. That might sound a bit complicated, but knowing your audience and being really clear about who you want to target and what those people want and how they interact on social media is so important, because it just makes your content so much easier to construct, because then you know this is the demographic, here's the sort of content they like, here's the brands that they're following, here's the times of day that they're on social media. And you can find all of this research on the main social media channels, and there are a lot of reports and studies every week, every month, about how certain demographic groups are using social media, and they're out there for free. So do your audience research where you can. It's a broad brush. If people have specific questions about different audiences, please put them in the chat and I'll try and answer them for you. I've put a little bit at the bottom, the A word that you'll have heard before, algorithms. So as a quick, very quick overview, the reason that Facebook and Instagram have changed so much in recent years is the algorithms basically serve you the content that you want to see. And it's based on how you interact and use social media. So you as a person, the pages that you follow, the posts that you like, the posts that you comment on, Facebook and Instagram are going to show you more of that kind of content because you're engaging with it. You're actively doing something. So think about, that's a good tip to think about your audience. How are they acting? How are they acting on social media? People often say to me as well, I've worked in different, when I was working at Dreamland, and I actually worked in the marketing team. A member of the marketing team said, well, I haven't seen any of the posts that, we've been sharing about this particular musical artist. I haven't seen them. They're not come up on my Facebook. And I said, well, do you like their music? No. Do you follow any of their stuff or any of that genre of music? No. Well, then why would it show up on your feed? You're not interacting with but the person wasn't even interacting with the Dreamland brand, even though they worked for them. So they weren't seeing anything that their own company was putting out because they had seemingly no interest in the company or any of the content that we were sharing. Could expand on that a little bit more if people have questions on it, but it just goes to show you, if you don't put out content that people want to engage with and interact with, they just won't see it. SWOT analysis, any excuse to use this Always Sunny in Philadelphia picture. Do your groundwork on your business as well. What are you good at? What is your product, or what are you trying to put out? And if you're trying to create a social media profile, are you brilliant at taking photos? Do you have a really sensational product or something unique that you haven't seen on the market? Obviously that's the gold, that's the golden egg that we all want. But are you really good at copywriting? Are you a really good storyteller? Can you edit amazing videos? Or is anyone in your business network or in your little influencer network good at that? Find what you're good at and exploit that on social media. When you're thinking about building up a brand, what are your brand's strengths, and make sure that those are reflected in the posts and the content that you put out on social media. Talk about what you're good at and show that off. Don't think about the stuff. We tend to always self-doubt ourselves and go, well, I'm really good at that, but I wish I was better at that. Focus on the good stuff and put that out so people can see it. Do your competitor analysis as well. Whatever you're doing, you will have done this if you're starting a business, you will have done business analysis. Same on social media. Look at what others are doing. Look at the channels that you really like, or the styles that you want to follow, or the similar products or similar ethos of whatever they're trying to put out. See how they're using their social media and get the best tips from it. You know, good writers borrow, great writers steal, as T.S. Eliot said. See what people are doing, mimic it, you know, use tried and tested techniques, and see what they're doing wrong as well. When your competitors are doing something wrong, if they're not posting properly, I go to interviews and I am asked, you know, what do you think of our social media? I go and compare it with other competitors of the businesses I'm talking to, and saying, well, here's what you're doing wrong. Here's look at this competitor. They're doing this really right, but they're also have completely messed this up. Or another example, find out what people aren't doing and then just make sure, okay, right, well, they're not getting this right on this social media channel. Let me exploit that, because then there's a gap in the market, particularly locally. Very important thing as well, are you socially responsible and switched on? Make sure before you delve deeper into the world of social media that you are socially responsible. This is more prevalent than ever. People will try and call this, oh, isn't that being political? It's not. It's just what people have to do these days. It is, are you prepared to respond to things like COVID-19, to Black Lives Matter, to LGBTQ plus issues, to economic climate changes? These things, they can make people feel uncomfortable. They're supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. You need to think about how you would respond to that on social media. Again, this can be a gray area. People don't know what's appropriate or what's not, but be thinking about it. Don't pretend that it's not out there, because these days, if you're not socially responsible as a brand, then you are going to get in trouble. Also, as well as social media, think about other avenues that you could be exploring other than social media for your business or for your goals. Your e-coms, your emails you're sending out, PR, blogs, websites. Make sure you're looking at the whole picture and you're not thinking that social media is the only thing or the only thing you have to worry about, and that's going to get you loads of customers or loads of a huge audience. So, what channels are right for you? You don't need to do everything from the start. I know that sounds counterintuitive, because most big brands or the really famous people out there have a presence on the big three, and they've also got a TikTok channel, and they've also huge on Pinterest still somehow. They're also using YouTube. You don't have to start with everything. Start slowly, plan your content thoroughly, give yourself time to work out which channels are right for you and where your audience is. Reason for this is that there are different audiences on different channels. So I've done you a very quick overview here. Facebook is predominantly families. You've got a lot of product consumers on there, people who want to talk and share. Facebook is now seen, while it used to be the big thing, and I'm sure most of us can relate here, Facebook is now seen for the slightly older generation. It's a little bit, it's not cool and hip, but people still use it, and a lot of businesses still use it. So you are looking at the 30, 35 plus to elderly audiences. Actually, I think it's 60 plus generation are the fastest growing users of Facebook. Instagram, beautiful Instagram. Instagram is the place for striking images and videos. It's not the place to be posting text heavy pictures or to be posting dull shots of just kind of what you've done with your family that day. If it's not beautiful and beautifully curated, it's probably not going to make much impact. Inspiration is the queen of Instagram. And you are looking at very young people, again, 16 plus to 50s, 60s. Everyone is trying to get onto Instagram. Twitter, we know, is for news and quick info. It is great for dates and posting updates, and it's also for commentary. So that's social commentary, quirky fun. That is where Twitter is the place where people sort of feel a more free reign to be able to express themselves or to sort of jump onto satirical or kind of even controversial posts on there. But Twitter is a good source of information, and people are still using it. People said Twitter was dead a while ago. Absolutely not. LinkedIn, if you are a business, you know, you should be looking after your LinkedIn profile. It's B2B focused. It's really good for making industry connections. Certainly during lockdown, when I've been looking through LinkedIn, I found it quite overwhelmingly depressing, actually, because of the amount of people who are sort of begging for work and trying to really oversell themselves. It's a really good place to go and look and say, wow, I never want my tone of voice to sound like that at all in a business setting. That's probably just my little pet peeve. YouTube, while I haven't gone into a great detail in this talk about YouTube, it is the biggest search engine in the world. It is huge. That is where people go and look at video content. That's where people go and listen to podcasts. That is where people search for inspiration every single day. So don't forget YouTube when you're planning your social media content. If you're really good at videos and you are putting videos on Instagram and that's your first thought, make sure that you've got a copy of them on YouTube and that they're properly tagged. People will find you. This is what people are using every single day. So think about how you can use YouTube to your advantage. And when you're thinking about what channels are right for you, do you have the content to make it work? This is where we go into it. So thinking about your content, what you're going to put on those channels. Housekeeping. These are just some tried and tested tips on here that I, again, find so many companies are not doing. I have an interview for a very large organization later on today, and I have found on a couple of these housekeeping points that they had failed on it. And it beggars belief why this kind of organization had not done their housekeeping. Is your profile and about section up to date? If you have existing social media channels for a business, is all the information there for people to find? Do you have the right slogan or brand slogan in that about info? You know, that stuff at the top of, you know, that sits in the, you know, under your social media handle on Twitter and on Instagram. Is that section accurate? Are your about details up to date? Is there a date change in there that's out of date? Have you said that your opening hours are such and such and they have actually changed in recent years? Just go back and make sure that that is up to date. Loads of people forget about it. They forget to update that. And that's where people are going to find out, well, how do I find these people? Where are you sending your audiences to from your social media accounts? If you are trying to direct people to something, are they going to a website that is up to date? Are they going to a sign up page for your emails? And if they sign up for emails, are they going to receive emails? Are you sending them to a blog? Has the blog not been updated since 2014? These are the sorts of things, if wherever you're sending your audiences from social media, make sure that they're going to a good, solid place that is up to date, that is easy to navigate. Don't take them away from the ease of social media and throw them onto a website that is not mobile responsive, that is full of outdated information, and it is just going to give them a headache and then click and unfollow you and go, never want to deal with them again. Do you have enough images and designs to work with? On your social media is all about images. A picture tells 1,000 words. There's no way around it. So thinking about when you're starting or as you're going forward, do you need to just get a new bank of images? Do you need to go out and take some photos? Do you need to commission someone? Do you need to do some design work in Canva, or if you've got a graphic designer who can spruce things up a bit? Just make sure you've got enough that you feel comfortable you can plan ahead a few posts. Is someone ready to answer your inquiries? If people are contacting you through social media, particularly through Facebook, can someone get back to them pretty damn quickly? There's nothing worse when you send a message on Facebook. As I said in the beginning, people want information right now and they want it to be accurate and they want to talk to someone and they want to have that impulse to buy satisfied immediately. So make sure that you are ready to answer inquiries, or you have some automated responses set up. I'll come on to this shortly with Facebook. But yeah, make sure that you're ready to meet those demands. A little thing in there, have you completed your brand work? This is a whole other area, but if you are a business, if you are an influencer, if you are whatever you're trying to put out, if you want to monetize who you are or what you do, you need a good, strong brand. And that brand needs to have brand guidelines. It needs to have values. It needs to have a color and a font and a logo. All these things help to give you, you know, a brand that people can buy into. Is really important. So don't think the brand work comes after doing social media. It's really good to start a channel with a really good, strong brand identity. A little bit below, and obviously Trump we have as our prime example. When you're about to start as well, always think twice before you hit post. There's two reasons for this. One is every time you draft something, give yourself time to go back and check it. Just edit it. It's so easy to slip a spelling error in there, or to get a date wrong, or because you're thinking of 7 things at once, you just write something out and you hit post and you realize, oh my God, I've just put out a load of information that was wrong. I've got to now put out another post that says, sorry, that was wrong. I've got to delete that, delete any comments and engagement, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Second reason for that, think twice about your tone and what you have written in your posts. Is it appropriate? Could it be misconstrued somehow? Is your attempt at sarcasm or humor may be a tiny bit offensive to other people. This is not to say that you have to use the PC, you have to PC police yourself. Just think twice about how people are using social media, because people are incredibly sensitive. They are ready to jump on people and point out the mistakes, even if they would never do that on real life. They're going to do it on social media. Trolls are a real thing. Just think twice about when you're about to post something. If you are trying to be playful or controversial, is it worth the potential damage it could do to your business? Again, if people have specific questions about that, about tone, I'm happy to answer those shortly. Yeah, one thing again, if I could beg any people out there, if you have designed a leaflet or something, or a promotional flyer for your business that you've handed out, please don't put that picture on Facebook as a post. Don't put it on Instagram. The number of channels that I see, and they're small businesses, and I get it. You've spent time, if someone's designed a leaflet, and the leaflet has the classic, all the information is right there, the times and the address and the info. And then you take that picture and you put it on social media and just go, well, people will read that and that'll be fine. Ugh, it doesn't work. Text heavy images and posts on social media in the design look awful. If you want to promote an event, use a Facebook event. If you're promoting something on Instagram, design a new picture for it and put the information in the text box, because that is what it is there for, and that is how people find you. Please stop sharing leaflets online. Hopefully no one does that here. As ever, you engage and you do not broadcast on social media. Social media is not a notice board, hence the leaflet comment. You can't just put something out there, pin it to the wall, and then just hope that people will see it and think it's wonderful and follow you and love you and give you loads of follows and likes and the engagement levels that will require a boost in the Facebook algorithms or the Instagram algorithms. It doesn't work like that. You need to engage. You need to put content out that people want to engage with. You need to engage with other followers. You need to engage with other brands. You need to be active on social media yourself and encourage people to be active in order for you to grow your impact, your followers, your engagement. It's as simple as that. You put out a broadcast message, no one's going to engage with you and no one will see you. Edit your photos. If you are using Instagram in particular, I'm sure a lot of people on here are interested in Instagram and want to know more about it. You need to have sensational pictures on there. So take the time to use the tools on your camera or some other tools I'm going to share later on to just make your photographs really good. On Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, if you are putting out a promotional image, take the time to tweak it, to adjust the colors, to adjust the contrast, to really make it pop, or to make it a little bit aligned with your brand. If you have particular brand colors, so yeah, if you have brand colors, maybe you can draw out particular colors in that picture to really sort of make an alignment. That sounds quite complicated and techie, but just edit your photos, make them sell your business for you. It's a tiny bit of work that makes a huge difference. As I alluded to earlier, be serious when you need to be about social issues and be responsible about what you post. You are responsible for your business and you're responsible for your audience as well. So look after them and look after yourself. So I'm going to run through a few tips for the three main channels here that hopefully you'll find useful. And again, if you have specific questions about any of these, you can ask me and pop them in the chat and ask at the end. So Facebook, a couple of questions that came through were specifically about businesses and generating sales and leads. I'm not going to go into a whole sales talk about social media. This is more about the content side of things, but here's a few tips that will be helpful. And again, if you are trying to look at being an influencer or just having a brand that you want to monetize, this is good practice, essentially. What is your Facebook call to action button set to? If people don't know what I mean, it basically means, I'll show you a sample in a second. It basically means the button at the top of the page on your homepage profile. It might say book now, call us, contact. Just make sure it's easy for people to get in touch with you. It seems like a really small thing, makes a big difference. Again, with that response time, if people want to ask you questions about when you are open or when you can get your products or whether they want to work with you, if you feel that your time poor, can you set up automated Facebook Messenger responses? Really simple tip, really easy. You can have some of you will have seen it if you've ever gone and tried to ask a business question on Facebook. You can set up in the settings, answer to commonly asked questions. So what are your opening times? What days are you open? What's your website? Stuff like that. Things that you get asked all the time. You can put those in as automated questions and have automated answers pick up. So people get that information instantly when they're trying to contact you. So you don't have to wait for someone to go online to answer a very simple question. Sweet tip. Again, opening times, contact details on Facebook, are they correct? There's a lot of detail in the about sections of Facebook, and it's really important to keep on top of those. All of these things, they may not sound like sexy content ideas, but it makes your content work better for you if all the information in the background is accurate. You could have amazing post and then people go, oh, I want to find out more about this company. Wow, I don't know anything about them. They seem to be really out of date. Isn't going to help you. Pin a post to the top of your page on Facebook if you've got helpful info, if there are changes, if things have changed, you know, for example, during the lockdown, if you've had to change your hours or if you've got a new online service, make sure people can find that instantly, and you can do that by pinning posts. And also engage and just user generated content on all of your channels. If you want to start building content, talk to your audience and ask them to send in ideas or pictures or videos. Play games with them. What's your favorite memory of such and such a place? What are you doing today? What are you doing with your family? Something that aligns with your brand, that gets people to interact with you and goes, hey, here's a picture of, yeah, that's a great, give them a challenge or something. Here's a picture of me and my family doing this. Here's what I remember about this business or this area that you're based in. Oh, I've got such fond memories. If you get people to send in those ideas and those pictures, A, you have content that you could repurpose for your brand, and B, you're getting the engagement up. So giving people a chance to show off and to talk to you, particularly on Facebook, that is the place to do it. That will make a huge difference to how Facebook views you, because you're getting more engagement through. Little tips at the bottom. I would say 1 post a day max on Facebook. Don't overload it. I think you might be able to stretch to 2, maybe if you were doing an event or something, you know, but don't overload your Facebook really. And never post without a picture, a video or a link. Give people something to look at and to talk about. If you want to do shorter things, that's what Twitter is for, but you won't get the impact if you don't have a picture or a video on there. And don't over explain your posts as well, unless you are a storyteller, or if you have a particular style where you write long copy. Keep your copy short and sweet and inspirational, and let your visuals do the talking. Don't feel the need to explain every single little detail, particularly if you want to drive people to a website or to sign up for information for you. Just give them a hint of something and send them to the right place. That gets more clicks, more links, more interaction. Rattling through. Twitter. Again, Twitter, how's your profile looking? Is it accurate? Is it up to date? Are you following the right people? Who you follow, you may have, when you started Twitter, followed, oh God, a whole host of people just because Twitter told you to, just to get those numbers up, and then hopefully getting, oh, a like for a like and a follow for a follow. Go through and do a cull every now and then on Twitter, but also follow the right people who are appropriate to what you want to do and to your brand, because they'll inspire you. You'll see the kind of content they're sharing. You can retweet it, you can comment on it, and that's what encourages engagement on Twitter. People will want to do the same thing. Sounds kind of obvious, but it's an important bit of housekeeping that people frequently forget, and they go, oh, don't need to do that, and then their numbers just drop and drop and drop. Are you sharing interesting posts and updating regularly? It is the same thing with Twitter. People kind of use it as a broadcast service to go, this event is happening at this time, or we've got a new product out, and then they share the same post again and again and again. Just make sure that the content on Twitter is interesting, it's up to date, you're looking at what's trending, you're looking at hashtags. Could I jump on that and have a conversation about it? Twitter is a place where you really need to be on the pulse and be responding to the zeitgeist of pop culture. It's quite easy, it's fun. Use Twitter to its advantage and talk to people. You can be a little cheeky if you want. Twitter, in terms of posts, sort of 1 to 3 times a day. I've worked for organizations where we've done 3 posts a day. Sometimes it helps engagement. Sometimes at different times it goes down a little bit. You can be a little bit more frequent on Twitter. People tend to just be having streams of conversations and doing long threads as well. And again, share pictures and videos, unless you're a really great copywriter and you can get away with just witty comments and you're fantastically amusing naturally on Twitter, then just again make sure you're sharing pictures and videos. All helps. Instagram. Lovely Instagram. So we could talk about Instagram for hours, and I'm sure people have questions about it. Top tips for Instagram: use a Linktree account. If you haven't got one already and you have a website, and a Facebook page you want people to follow, and a Twitter account, and maybe you're on YouTube as well. Maybe you've got a TikTok, maybe you've got Pinterest because you've got amazing mood boards for your product, and you're like, I want people to go and find out everything about me. Linktree is a brilliant account where you can just you'll have all your links in one place. If you haven't seen it, it's really worth it. Then you have one link at the top of your profile. Easy. Instagram is all about beautiful, stylish, inspiring, real, not real pictures. The reason I say not real is Instagram doesn't work unless you are really putting out amazing pictures and you're taking the time to edit them. You're thinking about your framing, you're thinking about what's in them, what's your style, and they look real, but they're not real. Because all of the great Instagram accounts out there that look so nonchalant with the incredible influencers wandering around in amazing outfits have been edited for hours. Everything that looks real on Instagram is not real. We all know that. But if you want to play the game on Instagram, you've got to play the game, essentially. You need to take some time over your photos, creating a sense of something that's authentic. It doesn't look staged. Those stock photos that you find, people still use them. Ugh, not on Instagram. Like Facebook, maybe you could get away with it. But yeah, don't be going onto iStock or any of those places, getting a generic image and putting that on Instagram as your picture. It won't do you any good. People won't respond to it. You may as well post nothing and then spend more time trying to get an original photo to put out. If you're using Instagram stories, a tip as well, try and design your stories. Take a little bit more time. Now, there's nothing wrong with posting organically or in the moment with your Instagram stories, depending on your brand. Absolutely fine to put the text on there and to show something that's real and that's live and that's happening and that's fun and your creative process. A lot of the bigger users of Instagram will do their videos and then they will edit them possibly in Canva, or they will edit it in Photoshop or even Adobe Premiere to put their own brand fonts on there, to use their brand colors, so that their stories sit quite beautifully, and amongst all of the stories that you're going to scroll through each morning. Yours looks like a proper brand. It looks really distinctive and it stands out. So it's worth thinking about that with your stories. If you've taken a lot of time on your brand, you want your stories to reflect that. On Instagram, develop a grid style and stick to it. Again, the best users of Instagram, I'm going to show you some examples in a second, they have a particular style that they use on Instagram. It might be a color style. It might be the way they feature people. They might just only ever show someone in mid shot. They might show long shots of people. They might only ever show landscapes. They might only ever do sunsets. You never know. But if you have a style on Instagram and you stick to it, it really, really works. It's very impactful. Again, I'll show you this in a second. And talk to other users on Instagram. It's the same thing. It's so important. If you see a photo, like it, comment on it. Liking posts, this is the same on Facebook as well, and on Twitter to an extent, is not enough. Just hitting like isn't enough. You need to either do an interaction button, so love, care's gone away now, hug, whatever, and comment on them and save the stories. That all helps. You want people to do that to your posts, so do it to others. Particularly with influencers or people who are doing creative content, they'll appreciate that. If you leave a comment and then they talk back to you, they will come and do the same for you. It's really important to interact on Instagram. Instagram, again, never post more than one in one day. 4 to 5 grid posts a week you can get away with. You don't have to post every single day. Some people need to because of their content. Probably 3 stories a week would be fine. Again, you don't have to do that much. You can do a little less on Instagram. Tag accounts that are relevant to you as well. If you're doing posts, don't guerrilla tag people. Don't just tag Sky News or The Guardian in a post that isn't relevant to them, thinking they're going to share it or interact with you. They won't. But do think about, can you tag other users or use hashtags that will be important to you? And put your hashtags in your first comment. Use your first comment to load up those hashtags. Some people argue that hashtags aren't as relevant anymore. It's not as relevant if you have 20,000 followers. You're not going to need the hashtags. It's a good idea to keep using them until social media science tells us otherwise. No problem with you still doing that. So those are what I'm going to do now. I'm going to very quickly show you, if this works, I'm going to show you some samples of some accounts that I think are really good. This is a very quick whiz through. STA Travel, which is as we know, is a sort of student young person's travel company. Their grid, I always use an example of their style. Now, obviously look at these photos. No student has taken these photos. No one who was on a gap year has gone out and taken those by coincidence. These are all set up. These are inspirational. They are meant to make people go, oh my God, I want to be there. But if you look carefully as I scroll through, you'll see that the photos that they post have a color corresponding to them. You see, we've gone from sort of a kind of a pale, a beige, through to a blue. We've got multicolors here. Then you've got more of a gray, a dark green coming through. I think that's a brilliant example of how to use your grid effectively, because they have so many beautiful photos. You know, they want for nothing. They commission photographers to go out and do this. But they found a way of actually making it nicely cohesive, so it's not a jumble of creative photos. I did similar on Dreamland Margate when I was there. When I first started, it was a very much a mishmash of different sort of colors and just sort of very random posts, a lot of kind of gig pictures that no one was engaging with. So when we started the new year, we started incorporating a lot more color, a lot more influencer pictures. We would go and ask them if we could use them and to share them with a tag that helped us to promote it. Sunset pictures, always incredible there. This was a promotion. The upside down one was a promotion we did with Stranger Things. But yeah, keeping that sort of color pop and the people through the grid really, really helped the engagement. It was absolutely massive. The change over that year was phenomenal. Another person on here, let me try and find one. I'm going to try and find. This is an influencer who I've worked with, who's actually local to Kent. She lives in Whitstable. She's a great person to follow if you are interested in influencers, but as someone who works with brands, she's monetized her career. She is a really, really great feed. She's sort of changed it around actually since she's been on lockdown. She's worked with a lot of brands. She does these photos with her husband. She's a lovely person as well. She's absolutely brilliant. But she is, you can see she's got a very particular style, very particular fashion through there. She actually changed recently because of lockdown, because she knew she wasn't getting a lot of brand work. They started doing these, what they called editorial posts. So they started telling stories in these little picture sequences and videos, just because they were at home and they were just making the most of the outside and their outfits and everything. So it was really creative. She's very, very good creative. Lovely person, does a lot of advice as well. So I would always recommend working with her and using that as an example. Got using the Natural History Museum here as well. You can see on their Facebook profile, that's a great video they've got as the banner picture. They've got a very clear call to action in that button: sign up. They want data capture, they want emails, sign up to hear more rather than get in touch. And their information all down here, all up to date. They don't have their opening times on here at the moment. They've probably taken those down because of lockdown. Other places have left them up, and that was a mistake on their part, but that's a really nice profile. Royal Academy, who are brilliant on Twitter. So obviously Royal Academy, we think of Royal Academy, arts, very prestigious, kind of stiff. Actually, their posts on here are hilarious. I love this, where they're just taking some of the images and just doing silly captions with it, because they're the Royal Academy. They've got a great brand, they've got incredible art. They're just being a bit more playful with what they put out, rather than going, oh, in 1830 this painting was done and it was nice. People already know that. People come to the Royal Academy because they know that there's great pictures, great paintings. It's the weekend. Okay. So a couple of examples there. I'm aware of the time, so I'm not going to rattle on further with that. What I will do is go back to the presentation. Please don't go from the end. Oh, yay. So, oh God, I've gone too far. So, quick things to end with here. Some tech tips. When using social media, particularly if you've got a lot to do, think about a scheduling tool. I, for my podcast, use Buffer because it's free and it's excellent. It allows me just to plan all my posts in advance, schedule them, hit send. Great, they're all done. There are paid plans with Buffer that you can do. If you've got a bit of budget, I would recommend them because it just gives you a few more tools that are really useful. Everyone knows Hootsuite. I personally prefer Buffer. If I was working for a large organization, I would 100% be telling them to get Sprout Social. It is incredibly expensive, so it's mostly out of our budgets, but it is brilliant for doing your reports, for doing just intuitive posting. It's absolutely excellent. Canva, a tool online. If you haven't discovered Canva, get on it now. It is a free, super easy design software. It's been a lifesaver to me. I've designed posters, I've designed social media logos, all banners, everything like that. It's really easy. It's got a huge number of resources on there. You can import your own designs, you can set your own brand, and you can resize things really quickly. If you don't have a brilliant camera phone, things like Snapseed are very good for editing photos, but where possible, just invest in a very good camera phone if you're going to be taking a lot of photos. iPhone 11, obviously. I've got a Google Pixel 4. Honestly, the camera on that is so good that I haven't had to edit anything that I've taken recently. Google and Facebook, they have loads of free courses about paid social media, about boosts and adverts. There are so many free resources out there and articles. You do just have to scrabble around a little bit to find them, but they're there, they're online. Use them, embrace them. You don't have to pay necessarily for these kind of courses unless you want to become an expert. Basic level, the free stuff is out there. To keep on top of new trends, I know someone asked about this. You've just got to use social media as much as you can. You've just got to be seeing what's trending, what are people posting. That is what's happening on social media. Maybe what's happening in your bubble. In terms of the trends, read newspaper articles. The Guardian, the Telegraph, they have great tech sections, so they will talk about what's happening in social. You've also got magazines out there like The Drum, which talks about digital marketing. Again, with measuring your success, whatever you're doing, I'll skim through this very quickly, but make a plan. Make a plan for your content. If you really do want to launch a business and you really want to have a strong social media presence behind it, or you want to work in social media, the best thing that you can do is rock up with a content calendar. A content calendar that helps you to devise what all your content's going, how themed it is, making sure that you're ticking all the bases for what your brand needs to cover each week, whether it's something consumer or business related or income or a competition. You need to do a certain number a month. A content calendar is going to help you. Also helps you track against key dates and trending activities and national holidays where you can really capitalize on your content. Measure your stats. Whatever you do on social media, it is pointless unless you can measure your stats and show some evidence of why something worked or why it didn't, to yourself or to your employers. You need to be showing, well, I did this, I tested it, it worked because I did it right. Whatever, the stats will tell you where the spike in times was, or the timing of it was, or the audience. And if it fails, then you've got your stats to back up and go, well, okay, we won't do that again. Particularly if someone's come up to you going, I think this is a brilliant idea. And you're going, no, it isn't. No, post it. And you go, okay, fine. Well, here's the stats to prove that I was right. I love doing that. Big ideas are easy, but making them work and providing the platform for actually your big ideas is hard work. It is hard work to get social media right, but it is worth it. Anything that's worth it is hard work. Anything that's hard work is usually worth it. And finally, give yourself time to test and learn on social media. For some of you, if you're just starting or if you're trying to start a new business, just give yourself the time to test and learn. It will not work instantly. It can take years for you to build up massive followings, but you keep plugging away at it. It will keep working. You will keep growing your audiences. Be creative and have fun. That's the point of social media. And if in doubt, not just plugging myself here, but call in a professional. There are people who have done this for years. They can advise you. They're not going to charge you the earth. They're not going to demand loads of your time. Just get someone you trust to come in and to look after it for you if needs be. And that's it. Rattle through that. Yay.
Great. Thank you very much, Sinead.
No problem.
So we'll open up the floor to a couple of questions, just sort of for 5 minutes maybe. And then if anyone's got anything, any large questions, if we comment on that post that I'll put up on Facebook, I think that would work best.
If you need more time, I've got more time, but it depends on everyone else. So, whatever we need.
Great. We had one come in while you were talking, which was about the demographic data you mentioned that people could access to learn more about their followers and who's been interacting with them. And it was just around, can you give a bit more further information on that and how you go about finding that information that's out there for free?
Yeah, with your followers, essentially on Facebook, you will find that if you've got it sort of depends on whether or not you've got a business page or a business profile on Facebook and also on Instagram. So you can on Instagram change to having a business profile. So I've done that on my one, for example. You can change to having a business profile, and it allows you to sort of say whether you're, you can say you're a digital content creator or that you're a shop or something. If you have a business profile in Instagram, it gives you the stats. It tells you when your posts were most successful. It tells you the demographics. It's very broad in terms of the demographics, but it will give you that sort of insight. Same on Facebook. If you have a business page on Facebook, Facebook will give you the stats of how your posts have been performing, who's been looking at them. Again, it's an overview, but when you're starting, it's useful. The best way really to get stats is if you have got a really good social media tool like Sprout Social, which is very expensive, so it's not for everyone. They will give you very good stats. If you ever think about getting a scheduling tool, make sure the stats are very good in it. Ask for a trial, ask to look at them. The best way to do it is to be linking up with your Google Analytics as well. If you've got a website, that's what gives you the really hard data. So there's a whole thing I could talk about when you're using your social media, using things called campaign URLs, which have unique trackers on them. So if people are going to your website, Google Analytics will measure how your campaigns in each of those posts are doing, how they performed, where their exits and exit. Really to get hard stats, you need to be good at Google Analytics. But for an overview, make sure you've got a business profile set up and they will give you the demographics. Hopefully that's helpful.
Great. I think one question that maybe a lot of people might have is you talked about how important it was to have your brand, and have kind of that backlog. But when you're developing a business and you're starting out, at what point do you take that kind of plunge into using social media? Um,
It's hard. I mean, it's sort of how long is a piece of string, and there's never a right time. I would say what you don't want to do, you don't want to start too soon, um, and then have nothing to say for months. I mean, that's just sort of basic common sense. A good idea, if you know you've got a business launching soon, or if you're about to get started, get your social media handles pretty damn quickly. As soon as you start thinking about it, if you've got a name for your business or an idea for it, get on Twitter, get on Instagram, get on Facebook, and make sure those names are available. So you may have spent loads of time coming up with a great brand, and then you go on to Twitter or Instagram, and every variation of that name is taken. And then what you've actually got as a social media handle is really complicated. So get hold of those accounts. You don't necessarily need to post in them immediately, but make sure that you own them. There's nothing wrong with having an account, particularly on an Instagram or Facebook, having a holding post where you've designed up a thing going coming soon or launching on such and such a date. So you've got time to build up your content. But when you start getting active on there, you need to be active regularly. You can't just post something a week and then 2 weeks later do a new one and then sort of be scrabbling. Just when you're getting started on social media, just make sure you've got a bit of a bank of content so you can start posting fairly regularly. And if it means waiting a little bit longer to launch compared to give yourself time to take those photos or design those cards for social media, do it that way. Yeah, just give yourself time, and then you've got a nice steady flow that people can engage with.
Great. So we've had another question come in which is about sharing posts across social media platforms. If the business has a promotion running, can they share different pictures of the same products but alter the content and wording for the different platforms? Should they post at different days, week times,
Yes.
that kind of thing?
Yes, definitely. Don't take one post where you can. I know it's a time-saving device and sometimes it's okay. I sometimes do this for my podcast, but I'm not trying to make money out of it necessarily, where you just do a post and then you copy it across. But even when I'm trying to do posts, and certainly for businesses, you've got a promo, change the wording for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, because they're all different. They're all appealing to different audiences. So tweak your wording. Use different photos if you can. You might want to use the same photo, but try and mix it up so people just don't feel like it's really easy for people to look through your social media. If you're on Twitter and then go to their Facebook and go to Instagram, going, no point following Facebook and Instagram because it's the same thing. They want to see something different. So absolutely tweak your wording. use your images, use your different images, and yes, definitely post at different times. When I'm working for businesses, I never post the same thing on the same channel at the same time, because audiences, for Instagram, for example, you're looking around about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening, would be more of an optimum time. First thing in the morning for Twitter, and also for bits on Instagram and your stories as well. It does vary, and again, your stats behind the scenes will tell you when your audience are most active. But yes, definitely post at different times and test it. Try different times. It doesn't work, doesn't necessarily mean your content was bad. Maybe you posted it at the wrong time. So try things when you're starting out.
Great. And then Karina has asked, which posts get the most traction, pictures, videos, or audio, and on which platforms?
Videos. Essentially, it's videos tend to show up as having the most views because people pause. They tend to stop on the scroll to see the video. Videos work if they're good. I mean, usually you've got stats that come back and say people watch the first 3 seconds, or they actually stayed to watch the whole of the video. Particularly on Facebook, you'll get stats from that when you've done adverts. So on Facebook, definitely videos work. On Instagram, a combination of the two. It's mainly pictures, but the odd video on your grid will work nicely. Twitter, mainly photos, but if it's a really good video, then it'll work too. Twitter's kind of a law unto itself. It doesn't, it very much depends on your brand on Twitter. Audio files as well. Audio, as long as you've got something, it is more of a video actually. If you've got an audio clip and you can put some moving images on top of it, or even like a sound wave device, will just look a little bit better if or if you've got a sign that says sound on or something like that. Again, it depends on the content. For sound, for audio clips, keep them really short and really sharp, and just give them a teaser of what it is you're trying to promote. Don't have long, like 30-second, 1 minute audio things. Won't work. Your golden rule really on social media for videos is 15 seconds. I would say 30 seconds max, maybe on a story, an Instagram story, but don't go longer than that. Don't be putting up like 1 minute or 2 minute videos unless it's like a really heartfelt advert or a campaign. Give them a hint.
And talking of videos, is TikTok the next big thing?
TikTok is huge. Is absolutely massive. Every single person, every single celebrity not every single celebrity, but most of the celebrities are using it. It's one of those where it's fun and it's silly, and brands can use it effectively. You don't have to get onto TikTok. You don't feel, I mean, I would say if you're starting a business, you need to be on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, unfortunately. Eventually, once you've built it up. TikTok, if you are really good at being funny, or you can see some of the trends on TikTok, and you can get your staff or you doing things in a weird environment that promotes your brand. It's just, can you do something? Can you get on TikTok and respond to the trends that are happening on there with a unique twist on it that corresponds to your brand? I know that sounds a little bit convoluted, but there's no point sort of joining TikTok if you're going to just try and do something that's entirely about your brand, that's nothing to do with what the TikTok users are interested in. Have fun with it, show your playful side, but yeah, just spend some time looking through, and if you're inspired to do something, what's the harm?